Hello Ganesh, Salamat Malam.
Hi, hello, good evening, everyone.
Good evening. So nice to meet with you here. So
Yeah,
how are
nice to
you?
meet you, and for all who are participating for today's discussion. I'm good. How are you? How are you now?
I am I am greeting you from Gajamada University tonight.
Ah, nice.
And one of our friends, Professor Gyan Luigi, is from Vienna, and he's a philosopher. So our
Oh,
Viswanidam Center, it is a network of scholars from
hello.
different disciplines and work. Yes. And Randhi is
Wow.
our co-host, and he teaches at a university. And then we also have Minati. Minati is joining. She is one of our co-nurturers. Santosh Bhai is from Odisha. She works in the field of education, and our many other friends. Makaradhwaj also has come. Yes. So I welcome you, Ganesh, and all friends to this evening's dialogue. And our Biswanidam Center for Asian Blossoming. Biswa is the world, and Nidam is the nest. And so the World Nest Center for Asian Blossom is a field for dialogue and co-learning, among Asian countries and contemporary Asian movements in the context of a world dialogue. And we have been nurturing dialogues every Sunday and sometimes on other day for the last 4 years. And Ganesh, it's a joy for us to welcome you to our Center for Dialogue and listen to your work as part of the Sojogyo Institute and also the work of Sujogyo, his thinking and his creative and critical works. Dear friends, I met Janice just a few days ago in his center in Bogor, and it was an enriching experience to be together with. And being in the Sujogya Institute, I could feel how important he as a thinker is and his work on agrarian change, land reforms, but also a different kind of social science, the whole idea of an autonomous social science. So we need to visit thinkers from our own countries and their contributions. And in India, we are also very interested in our rooted thinkers, thinkers who write in different languages, not only in English. So with this brief introduction and welcome, and Ganesh, works in the Sujogyo Institute in Bogor. She herself is creatively interested in mobilization, youth, and she has interest in NGO practice and creative, following the creative path of research, suggested by Sujogyo. So we welcome you, Ganesh, please, and we invite you to kindly, tell us about Sujogyo, his thoughts, and his current legacy in the terms of Sujogyo Institute and your own work. You would kindly speak to us for 30 to 35 minutes, and after that, we would have a conversation with you, please. So, a warm welcome, kindly do.
Okay, thank you so much, Ananda, for your humble welcoming for me. And I'm here, Ganis Octaviana. Thank you so much for your organization of this great opportunity for me to be invited in this forum. And it was really impressive that know that your organization already arranging this forum for more than, I mean, around 4 years. It's really, how to say it, like dedicated works. So I think our organizations need to learn how to organize this kind of commitment that you have. So I'm here as part of this organization. Maybe at first I want to clarify first the name of our organization and also the name of this notable person from Indonesia. It's not Sayogya, but it's Sayogyo, and our organization is named after him, which is Sayogyo Institute. So I mean, many people are really confusing to pronounce his names because it's a bit difficult to say. So here I want to use this chance to verify his name, Sayogyo. So first of all, I want to ask your permission for sharing the my screen, if it's possible.
Yes, please. You can please share the screen. Just go ahead.
But it says okay. Yeah, thank you. So here my presentation is very a brief introduction of Sayogya and our organizations, because we are really aware that the huge contributions of Sayogyo to social science theory in practice and discourse, and also his concrete contribution to this country, which is Indonesia. However, for the short introduction, I think it can help us to as a starter to build how to say, the collaborative work that um that I need to cite Ananta's word when we met in Bogor, that he said like Indonesia and India has a really intense relationship. So why not we start from Sayogya Institute or understanding Sayogya's contributions? Okay. So Sayogya and his legacy. Before we start, what his contributions are, show you at first. Like, he was born in Karanganyar, Central Java. It's quite far from here because this organization is located in West Java, the province of West Java, while Sayogyo was born in another province, Central Java. He had original name as Sri Kusumo Kamto Utomo. In the short name, people called him Kamto Utomo. He is originally from Java ethnicity, the same with me too. And then he completed his elementary school degree at Hollands in the Inland, sorry for my pronunciation, school in 1939. And then he also completed his middle school Formula in Purwokerto in 1942, and then completed his high school degree in Yogyakarta in 1949. And then he also part guerrilla movement with Tentara Pelajar during his middle school period. Tentara Pelajar is actually uh, a movement that consisted of students and students from schools and university for Indonesian independence. And then he also completed his university study in Indonesian University, and then soon later changed to the IPB University. IPB is the acronym of Institut Pertanian Bogor. Pertanian means agriculture. And then he also achieved his doctoral of Indonesia under Professor Werheim, under supervision of Professor Werheim. Excuse me. He was also a lecturer in IPB University. He is soon later appointed as professor and then chair of survey agroeconomy or economic agro survey project. And then he also appointed as president of IPB University. And later he changed his name into Sayugyo. And then he was also board of Ilmu Social Science Foundation. He is also chair of Rural Sociology Center in IPB University, part of National Research and Innovation and member in Indonesia, GO, and 2008 March. Short intro, and then what is sorry, I think I just lost my connection. So I'm, I will continue. And then what is actually Sayagyo's legacy as okay, as Ananta already mentioned about autonomous social science, what is actually autonomous social science in Sayagyo thought or Sayagyo contribution? We can understand that he has three principles to bring this autonomous social science into the academia and into the activism work. And for this one, we can start from the idealizing theory. What is actually the idealizing theory from Sayugyo? It's part of the critique of the all Western knowledge by considering non-Western sources of knowledge. He also proposed to from this principle. He also proposed to change on how to realize the social economic transformation to elevate the dignity of the poorest people in the rural area. By this, then we can dismantling the sociology of ignorance that maintains the status quo in mainstream social science. From this work, this also can be done by making visible the condition and the interest of various rural weak groups can be considered socially, culturally, economically, and also politically. And also women also part of this group. This kind of dismantling work is actually also the sense of dismantling what we say, the false conscious of the word, and then at the same time we also have to face and then making an effort to build the meaningful word for the humans. And then what is another principle of the Sayagyo's an understanding autonomous social science is restructuring action, which are democratization of knowledge production process through participatory action research. This process of knowledge production must involve multiple parties and carries the spirit of crossing scientific boundaries and also advancing transformative action that have been powered by the spirit of autonomous social science. Through participatory action, we should understand that participation can be two meanings. One is the process, second one should be the orientation. As the process, participation should involving the weakest people in the lower classes in the villages to be able to speak about their respective faiths in their small groups without any mediator to speaking about condition. And then as the orientation, participation should be utilized to face the problem and aims to emancipate among all actors. From these two principles, then there is the project on abstraction from the theory and then also restructuring action as a result research action. But this is not the goal because it's kind of like just the terminal for continuing toward more insightful action following the endless cycle between abstraction of theory and then practicing into the reflection action. It's kind of like endless process. And specific, we call this methodology as kaji tindak participatoris. Participatoris means participative. Kaji tindak means the translation how action result in Indonesia word. And this is some of the books that Professor Taryagya wrote. This is only small, not small, only little information that I show here. But in fact, he had a lot of articles and also books that we also have here in our physical library and digital library. From Sayagya legacy, then he contributed to some of concept and theory and also tools to measure the empirical case to bring the concrete solution of the situation of Indonesia at that time when he was still alive. Like first, the theory of poverty that he introduced to understand why poor people in Indonesia still under the poverty threshold because the poverty threshold in Indonesia wasn't adequate enough to understand poor people in Indonesia. That's why he he invented the multidimensional poverty because at the time Indonesia poverty threshold was really statistical and really one-dimensional threshold. And then theory of life needs of the poor people, like quality of life index, family and community nutrition, for him to understand at least minimum how one person can live in the adequate nutrition, he calculated like at least the minimum one is more than 200 calories per person for per day. And then he also contributed on the land reform breakthroughs, like one is farmer labor enterprises or labor intensive labor enterprises. And then he also suggested to review again the maximum land control limits in Indonesia because at the time Indonesia was really struggling to limit how maximum how big Indonesian can own the land, while at the same time Indonesian also had the project of the land reform and also collective control of land by smallholders or peasants and homestead land reform. He also contributed some concept of understanding on the rural development, for example, like agrarian reform, rural industrialization and cooperatives, 8+ paths of equality, opportunities to work and the business in the rural area, institutionalization of village community participation, and that is should present as a patron for marginalized and disadvantaged group in society. So why Sojio Institute then established? Sayogi Institute was established in 2005 as a research-based NGO, and then this organization is named after Sayogi. We based in Bogor, West Java, Indonesia. Our vision is to become a leading learning action together vehicles in the production knowledge on agrarian, environmental, poverty, and rural renewal issues in Indonesia. And then our mission is to promote and develop knowledge on agrarian, environmental, rural poverty issues and their mitigation practices to strengthen the capacity, facilitate, and synergize researchers on agrarian, environmental, and rural poverty issues, and to document manage, publish, and appreciate the intellectual works, practices, and learning processes of practitioners and researchers on agrarian, environmental, and rural poverty issues. What is what are our current activities? Our current activities, we have some topics that we are working on it. Now I want to share what we are doing right now. First of all is in Indonesia. This research found that indigenous peoples' agricultures and medicinal plants are practiced in sustainable manner and based on local agroecological system that follow the natural cycle. These research are making rural areas a new frontier for extraction for the sake of the so-called energy transition. We also we also have like a regular training for facilitator, the last ones for the youth activists from 7 communities in Indonesia to advancing organizing method in the grassroots. And then the next, we also have research on struggle for recognition and sovereignty of indigenous peoples. This research found that the recognition of indigenous peoples do not include aspects of land redistribution for communities, but only recognize the uncontested space by the interest of concession capital. We also do some experiments in agrarian reform by encouraging collective ownership rights and joint production arrangements based on agroecological system. And now we are preparing for 100 year, a century of Sayogyo in 2026. It will be an activity to revisiting and rethinking his thoughts and legacy. So for more information about organization, we have our website with address sayogiainstitute.org. Yeah, I think that is from me. I may not want to
So thank you, Ganesh.
to talk.
Terima
I
kasih.
can discuss and only listen what
Yes. So thank you, Ganesh. Terima kasih for presenting Soyogios. I am still trying my best to get the name in the beautiful spirit. So Sajogyo and his work and the current work of Sajogyo Institute. So now I invite friends to please offer your questions, comments, and reflections, please. Let me invite Siddhi. Siddhi is our friend from Bali. Siddhi, please share your thoughts. And I request you to open up your video. We can see you. Friends presenting, you can kindly open in your video.
So I'm sorry not to open open the video because my web
It is
is
fine.
sleeping behind me.
Okay, okay.
Okay, this is already 10 o'clock, yeah, 10:30. I think we heard about the name Chayogya is a institution that famous in Indonesia to support the farmer, yeah, the agriculture, and give a lot of suggestion for the government to upgrade the quality of the farmer and agriculture in Indonesia. So, IPB is the behind the institution, so there are a lot of skillful people there join with the institution, and I hope this institute will growing and develop to be one of the important institution for Indonesia. That's a short my comment. Thank you.
So Siddhi works with University Dhyanapura in Bali, and the university also has interest in sustainable tourism. And I am going to visit them in a few days. So then our other friends, please. Khalisha, Khalisha, please open your mic. Okay. Then Jainaran Bhai from Odisha, India. Jainaran Bhai, please. Okay. Makaradhwaj, Minati, please.
Uh, Hello, am I audible?
Yes.
Thank you. Um, I mean, I just thank you to the Ganesh Octavian for
Hello.
introducing a new, not introducing, we are just familiar to bringing in different dimension into this one. So before telling something, we need to learn little bit more about it. So if she could share some documents or some PDF files and all, we need to read little more to assimilate the full thing. So I don't have such comments or any questions today. Thank you.
Sure, sure. I will share one document that Sayugyo have had word about modernization without development. As a short information, this book talk about criticizing how Indonesian government actually focus on uh, making villages, making rural area to make it more modern. Then, while at the same time they were neglecting how people are struggling to keep up with the modernization that our government Indonesia try to pursue. So while the infrastructure, the other things in the terms of economics are growing in the sense of the government, while people in the rural area they were left behind. So there's no development on the people, on the development on the economic sense of on the perspective of the government. So it's kind of like nonsense for you make the modernization while you left the people in the rural area without making them uh uh how to say elevating the dignity of them, like his principle on the re-idolizing the theory and then make it into the action one. I will try to find the document and then I will share it to you in the group in the room chat. Thank you for your suggestion.
So thank you,
Hello.
Minati. Gani, Minati is one of our co-nurturers, and she is also a poet, and along with a creative writer. Yes, friends, please. Yes.
Sir, good evening.
Yes, Makaradhwaj.
Thank you, sir.
Please,
Sir,
please open your video.
sir,
Please
I'm at
open
the
your
sir,
video.
I'm the village now, sir. It's in little the electric problem.
Okay,
So,
okay.
sir, I listen some of the and some of this presentation I missed actually due to the network problem my side. I listen about the nutrition, sir, the quality of life index like that, if I'm correct, sir. Regarding that, any any writings on about of Dr. Sujogyo, so that you can read and can get some idea about uh, his idea of
Okay, thank you, Makaradhwaj. Makaradhwaj teaches sociology at Sambalpur University. So, Ganesh, you might like to collect a few other questions and then share after a few minutes. Now, Gyanluigi, please.
Yes, thank you very much. It was very interesting. I hope I am audible. It was very interesting. I was attracted in particular by one point of your very interesting PowerPoints. That is, you spoke about, you underlined, if I am not mistaken, that the author has had another approach as regards poverty as those of the Western civilization, Western countries. I would very much like to know something more on this point because it seems to me really a turning point as regards the analysis of poverty. And perhaps I'm mistaken because I have only read the PowerPoint. Perhaps I have not read well enough, but I would be very interesting to see in general which are the main points of criticism of the author uh, against the Western civilizations. I think this is a very important point, and I would be very much interested in it. Thank you very much. Thank you. It was brilliant. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Now we have other friends in our group. Chandana Appa from USA. Kindly share some of your thoughts.
Um, Good morning to you all from USA, Philadelphia. I am really sorry that I could not join from the beginning. By the time I joined, it was a little bit later. But I really enjoyed the message she tries to convey to us, and it's very helpful. Although I'm not in the social field, but I was in the nursing and medical research field in USA. So I have some experience and something about it, and I would like to see the entire uh, lecture in the YouTube, or if she's sending the document sharing, that will be really helpful because we are also trying to do a lot of work in this area here with the indigenous people and other people. Thank you very much, Anantagiri, for inviting me. And next time I'll try to join in time.
Thank you, Chandrika Appa. I'm sorry I put your name as a little differently.
No,
So thank you,
Chandra, that's okay.
Chandra Appa. Thank you.
Ah.
And now We have Dr. Habib joining us. Habib, Dr. Habib, some thoughts from you?
Hello everyone. My name Habib from Sojio Institute. Thanks for this discussion.
Yes, Habib. Salamat Malam. Thank you for joining. Please bring a little bit of philosophical dimension to Sojogyo's work. If you'd like to add to Gani's presentation. Okay, so now as we have listened to these thoughts, so let me add a few of my queries. So thank you, Ganesh. And Sojogyo's work on poverty, on nutrition, and nutrition security, food security. So that is a great challenge today. So today, many people are talking about a nutrition garden and how we have to create our own food. So, and away from chemical agriculture. So there was a moment where in India and Asia, green revolution as a model um, was very popular. But Dr. Swaminathan, MS Swaminathan from India, who had initiated green revolution, quickly he challenged us to understand the limits of green revolution and not to use too much pesticide and move towards a balanced approach to agriculture. So my first query is that what is Sojogyo's views on this subject? Secondly, situating Sajogya in his time, Indonesia went through a very difficult moment, and where, in the 50s and 60s, many of the radical thinkers were paused, they were labeled as communists, and many of them have been butchered. So, what is the leanings of Sajogya in terms of Marxism, and then his crafting an autonomous social science. Then about Sojogyo's writing itself, he's a agricultural scientist, social scientist, and he writes in Bhasa Indonesian. But in his writing, also there must be a literary sensitivity, and because many of the social scientists who write in mother languages, so there is a border crossing between literature and social science. I'm wondering whether Sajogyo social science writing also had a creative literary poetic dimension, and um, and whether he himself wrote certain creative works like novels or short stories or poems. Then Sojogyo in the Southeast Asian context, when we met, we briefly, talked about, Alatas, Soed Hussein Alatas, his project of an autonomous social science and his critique of colonialism, and what were the kind of interaction between Sojogyo and, scholars from neighboring countries like Malaysia and Syed Hassan Alatas. And finally, the gender dimension, because this poverty and agriculture and the role of women, and whether women in Indonesia also play an active, productive role as agricultural laborers, and what is perspective of Sojogyo on the gender dimension and for gender liberation. And on the indigenous question also, it is very interesting that you are focusing on the indigenous, Sojogyo is attentive to indigenous. But the indigenous people always have had a very marginal existence. Even in Indonesia, in Pancasila, the religion of the indigenous people may not have been recognized properly. So whether Sajogya's reference to the indigenous people and whether it had a real dimension of identification. So these are some queries, Ganesh, please. Thank you.
Ananta
Sorry,
bhai,
can you?
just sorry to interrupt. Randir is there. No, you can invite him to just ask his.
Hello, Randhir, please.
No, he's not there. I think. I
Yeah,
think he'll.
Randhir sent me a message that he's traveling, so therefore, yes.
Sorry, may
Yes.
I? Oh, yeah. So for the first, the index of quality of life from Sojio, he proposed like literacy rate, a measure of education level as a determinant of business of work opportunities, and also mortality rate, life expectancy at age 1 year, and plus, and then next one, tertiary level, the last three indicators measure the result of the entire development process, the literacy rate, mortality rate, and life expectancy. This is kind of like index of quality of, sorry, I forgot the name in English because we are used to in Indonesian word. Let me check again.
Quality of life.
Yeah, quality of life index. Because in Indonesia we call it index mutu hidup. I'm familiar more in Indonesian name than the English one. So that's some of the measurements that Sayagyo proposed for making the indicators more into the multidimensional rather than into a statistical one. And then he also proposed the social and cultural bias to understand the quality of life index. And what else? Sorry, I think I missed the other questions.
Yes, I was asking you about Sojogyo and the intellectual climate of that time, Marxism and repression by the Indonesian state.
Yeah, actually, I'm surprised you also knew that situation actually. Yeah, Sayogi at the time was one, we can say now he was Marxist at the time, but considering the political situation that Indonesian had like around 65 until 70, like Sayogyo at the time even wrote his writing with very how to say very not really frontal words, like now Marxist writing to criticize the government and the capitalism, but because he wants to transform something, so he want to approach the government at the time to make a transformation for the sake of the poorest people in the rural area. So he used his political work on his writing to write everything by criticizing, but also approaching the government to make transformation. He didn't use very because actually he's also the victim of the government's uh how to say it, authoritarianism of the Suharto when he was the president of the IPB University. He was uh, uh, let me use wait, I forgot the name in English. He was the victim of the coup d'etat of the one organization, and then he was accused as part of the Communist Party because of his thinking. At the time, he didn't really use Marxism word, but he was still being kicked out by some organization at the time. So actually, some of his works were derived from Marxism as well. While at the time he cannot saying that he was Marxist. That's my response to your questions. Actually,
And this
yeah. Please.
second question about food security and nutrition security. And the third question is about gender. What is Sojogyo's perspective on gender exploitation and gender liberation in agriculture and the wider society?
Oh, okay. But I remember about one question about the Western insight. Why Sayagyo try to criticize the Western perspectives and try to this to use non-Western perspective. May I answer that one first?
Yes.
Okay. So because for him, uh, criticize or critically consider Western concept because the legacy of the colonial political economy hasn't completely ended in Indonesia. For example, how Indonesian government until now control the land, while they are supposed not to control the land because how to control the land is part of the colonialism practice under agrarian land. And then the second one, there are conditions in which contextualization of Western thought is greatly needed rather than simply accepting it as an explanation of the condition of colonial countries. Like the autonomy of social science is needed to recognize that the reality of colonial countries from their own minds and realities. And also what he proposed on to realize the false of the word that we are understanding now, to unpick that things into making the meaningful word for the humans, and also now in Sayugya Institute to the other creatures which are non-humans, and like that. And then about the let me recalling your question if I didn't following your question clearly, please say it again. So you asked about the how gender and land revolution in Indonesia, isn't it?
Yes, gender dimension and Sajogya's perspective on the gender dimension of agriculture and on gender liberation.
Okay, so Sayogya taught women as part of the group, as part of the weak group, which is the group that need to be participated on on doing research action participatory. That's why, but actually for talking women, his wife spoke more on women. His wife is Pujiwati Sayogyo, and then she talked more on how women's time allocation put for participating in development and for their work in the household. So when we are talking about the gender dimension, Sojio also has that perspective on gender, but his wife make it or sharpening this gender discussion in her work. Uh, C.S. Pujiwati.
That is
While
nice.
yeah, so it's kind of like the couple goal, like the wife and also the husband. They did very progressive activities as a married couple, and also
Lovely.
about for the land liberation in Indonesia currently. I'm not sure we are already achieved the liberation of land because, as I said before, we are still under the shadow of the colonialism regulation, colonialism of perspective, how we seeing or viewing our land. Like we have dualism law of land where a feudalism situation, like in Indonesia, we still have some area that still enacting the feudalism law for to control the land, and also at the same time we also have national law land which is enacted by the government. This two dualism is also, it's kind of like continuing what the colonialism did in Indonesia before, like they made the apartheid system to control Indonesian people here, like only Europe people who own land in Indonesia can be applied with the European law, while in Indonesia they apply another law, and then Indonesian who were Islam and then who were inheritors of the Arab ethnicity, they they applied another system. It's kind of like a dualism and plural system, how to control or restructure agrarian in Indonesia. So I'm not sure when we are talking about the liberation here, Indonesia. When we are talking in Indonesia, it's all Indonesia. The group of the proletarian here already achieved the liberalization, while during the Jokowi presidential period, they sorry he narrowing how to say he shrink the the agenda for land reform that Sukarno tried to pursue to redistribute the land equally to all people in Indonesia, while Jokowi make it more in the administration way. So the principle to redistribute the land solely understood only for making the land be owned by personal by individual through legitimation of the land certification. So the meaning actually for land reform is not only having the certificate as the legal way, but how we restructure the classes of land ownership in Indonesia.
Yes.
Uh, Ananta bhai, I just want to share a little bit something. Can I? May I?
Yes, please.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you. So it is not actually related to this project. When we are talking about the food and nutrition security, so the food security is different and the nutrition security is different. Why I'm telling this? Because this all this nutritionists are now, they're market driven. They are, I'm sorry to say that they're completely make the people biased about the nutrition, what they get benefit from. Suppose when we food means, just to fill the stomach and some food you have to eat, but to get the proper nutrition, if you see, every time the parameters change, the things today something is considered to be healthy and tomorrow it is unhealthy, and what is unhealthy is considered today to be healthy. So that aspect actually should be looked into. That there are, if you tell, I'm a student of home science, so I just understand a little bit. I've studied a little bit food and nutrition also. So if you look at, there are few in, if I talk about India, there are very few who really give you the informations about the real nutrition. So I don't know in Indonesia how that fact and how they look into that. So that aspect also cannot be ignored. So I just wanted to share this. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Minati. And
Th-
also
Thank you.
another question I had. Did Sojogyo write poems, novels, and other creative work?
Okay, thank you. Thank you, ma'am, for your response. It's really nice to have more insight about food in India. This is actually really related to Sayogyo's contribution actually in Indonesia, because he also proposed what we call in Indonesia. Let me write it down in the comment. We call it Taman Gizi. He may not mention about uh he may not focus on how globalization, on food globalization, and then market driven of food chains will occupy our nutrition supply. But he, with very humble, says like, we have our home yard with a very small spot. Why don't we just grow our own food there? When we can grow our own food there, then we can achieve what we say. Oh, let me check again in English, because I just I'm just worried I say it wrong way.
Yes.
The food sovereignty by the household. So his goal is actually how every household can establish his can establish their own taman gizi. In English, it means like home yard nutrition by 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 themselves, because he kind of like predict like what will happen in the future if we cannot be into in sovereignty of our food, if we cannot even grow our food by our own hands, because in the future there will be a lot of food which is we cannot even know from the nutrition that they put in our food. You know that it's real simple actually for his idea on taman gizi. He even made a book how to plant this, how to make this, how to make a food even for the pregnant woman. So this is what we call the corporate solution.
Hmm. Lovely. Thank you, Ganesh. We have had a enriching sharing of ideas. So now, Minoti, please.
We can close. Thank you.
Yes.
Uh, I, Minati Pradhan, on behalf of Sodhya Sahachakra and Vishwanidam Center for Asian Blossoming, would like to thank our today's talk chief speaker, Ganesh Octavian, for our very insightful presentation and discussing, different dimensions so thoroughly. Thank you so much, ma'am. And I also would like to thank Mr. Siddhi Turklar. Pardon me if I'm not pronouncing it properly. And Mr. Khalasa, Mr. Makardojkar, Professor Gyanluiji, Madam Chandra, and the last somebody asked, no, I'm forgetting his name. So I thank all of you. I also thank the people who have joined us from our Facebook platform and in our YouTube platform. Thank you all. Pardon me if I've forgotten anybody's name, but I thank all of you. Thank you for being with us and learning. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sorry, Ananta, you are muted.
Yeah.
Posted on your chat, you can send it to through email and I'll forward it to our group.
Okay, nice.
Yes. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
terima kasih. Hi Habib.
Hi, Nata.
Hi. We'll speak again.
Uh,
Lovely.